Solid. Okay. Okay. So this is we're trying out something new with the special committee where we're doing. I'm interviewing people on the team so that we can kind of highlight some people and their skill sets. And the format that I've chosen make it easy on myself is 5 questions in 10 minutes, and make it easy on everybody else too, just because everybody's busy. So this is Nicky Besuden. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yep.
Besuden. Okay, and Nicky is a VP of marketing at an ed tech startup, and she's also moonlighting as a marketing specialist on a special committee. And she's been helping us with a lot of advice at kind of crucial moments along the way. So Nicky, are you ready for this? This is 5 questions in 10 minutes, and if we get through all of them, there's a question at the end if we get to it.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, cool. So what draws you to this product, Special Committee?
Yeah, that's a good one. There are several reasons I was drawn to the product. Obviously, sort of the mission of the product to inspire curiosity around government and politics was a huge draw for me. Sort of the political tie-ins were probably what I found most interesting, just because I'm deeply invested in politics and we're in an election cycle, so it was especially appealing in that sense. I also just really enjoy the challenge of launching a product. And especially on a platform like Kickstarter, it's just a really exciting opportunity as a marketer.
Yeah, it's a rush. Okay, so what would you say is your superpower as a marketing specialist?
I think my superpower is probably just remaining agile. I like to think that if I encounter a problem within marketing, that I'm pretty good at pivoting and finding a solution and tapping into new audiences. So I think, sort of the startup person in me has a skill set that allows me to jump between, different channels and have a good understanding of what platforms and what audience segments a product's really going to appeal to.
Awesome. We are moving at a incredible clip here. Okay, so I'm very curious about this one. If you could roll back time and change just one thing about the way Special Committee was marketed, or about how the sort of launch and how the beginning of the Kickstarter went, what do you think you would change?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I would change is making sure that we launched with a more anticipatory, engaged audience. I think launching a product, you have, like for instance with mobile, like you launch a product, you oftentimes have alpha and beta users who have already tested out the product and sort of become influencers for it. We obviously didn't have the opportunity to sort of build in that test audience really. So I think, in hindsight, having, put more effort into building an engaged audience prior to launch would be the one thing that I would change.
And this is a small follow-up. I'm kind of ad-libbing here, but what do you think is the best way to build up that engaged audience beforehand?
For a product like Special Committee, I think the content is really important. And I think sort of a lot of the content creation happened as we were rolling out the campaign, because we learned so much about the product and so much about the audience that, as we moved through the campaign and got feedback, it became easier and easier to engage with the audience that we did have through content. So I think that content strategy piece is really key.
Yeah, I agree. I think we were sort of finding our voice as we were kind of starting to speak, and it's become so much more clear now, kind of what what it is that the types of content that we can kind of put out there and make easy and engaging for our audience. Okay, I'm supposed to be the interviewer. I shouldn't like chatting so much. All right, so how do you think Special Committee relates to the election?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to try not to go on any political rant, but it's huge. It's huge. I'm Donald Trumping right now. It's huge. I think that the tie-ins ties to the election are sort of undeniable. Um, people tend to focus on the presidential campaigns, but we have 24 open Senate seats. So, sort of getting the word out that, like, hey, you hate Trump, you hate Clinton, as so seems to be popular opinion, learn more about your senators. When we were doing research for the campaign, we found out that, 74% of 18 to 24-year-olds couldn't even name a senator from their home state, which is just insanity. We like to pretend that we're a country of informed voters, and we're not. So the ability to work on a product that will help teach people about how the government works and how politics work is not only exciting, but also, I think, very timely. Because while so many people are, I'm not going to vote because I don't believe in either of these two presidential candidates, I think it's important to remember that there are other elections. There are other issues to vote on, and there's other candidates to elect. While the future president obviously has a huge impact on our government, so do the senators, and so do the policies that are, being voted on this year. So I think that the tie-ins to the election were, big, and, launching this campaign during that time, I think we saw a lot of that. I think that, the response from our audience has been, very political, and I think that this game appeals a lot to people who are interested in politics, but it's also a really good stepping stone, being that you sort of get to embody a politician and, based on their sort of positioning and their legislation, you get to play this game and sort of, decide, are you going to, work on taking out other players in the game? Are you going to work on, trying to build wealth and power and maintain your seat? And I think it's interesting, for people to sort of see from a gamified point of view how politics works. Because I think a lot of people sort of think that the government is a game anyway. So gamifying it in that sense, I think, was really, really smart, but also makes a really interesting tie-in with, what's happening politically right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's a part of that I agree with a lot, and I had to bite my tongue from not speaking when you said, we tend to kind of fetishize the presidential election, and then when that dies down, it's sort of like nothing. It's kind of like 4 years of like, okay, I'm going to put politics in a drawer and not worry about it. And there's so much politics happening at state and local level that affects what people do, and it's just sort of like operating on a different wavelength. I think, and I'm going to keep it short, but I think that because the presidential elections have become such a big deal, they turn into this like pro wrestling thing where you have to get this hype and this like nonsense and this, backstabbing and these like, I don't know, just awful, terrible things kind of being dragged out for entertainment purposes. I think that, there are other ways to make politics entertaining rather than turning it into such spectacle. Okay, moving on. Okay, if you were going to add, well, this is relevant. Okay, so if you were going to add just one element of controversy to the marketing of this product, how would you do it?
That's a good question. I personally would love the opportunity to add, politicians outside of senators. I was going to say Trump, but being that he's not a real politician, I don't know how he would fit into the game, but I think it would have been interesting. Had to get a Trump jab in there. I think it would have been interesting to have gameplay around sort of the different tiers of government, for lack of a better word, being able to play senators, but also how senators affect this branch of government or this portion of government, and how senators interact, with the president. Also, I just think Trump is just riddled with controversy in general, so involving him in the game, I think, is an easy, sort of point of controversy. But also really interesting. And I think that it would be difficult to fill out a Senate card for Trump, as he has zero political accomplishments, but
Right.
fun nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, we keep on expanding kind of the definition of who the political figures are in the game. I mean, it started off as just senators because we loved that idea of like, oh, there are 100 senators and you can collect all the senators and you have this little collection going. We're going to make over-the-top versions of all of them. But then we expanded it because we didn't want just like a bunch of white guys. And we ran into that very quickly in the U.S. Senate, as you might imagine. So we expanded it to House of Representatives. But then, like, people are like, well, what about justices? And what about, like, people like Trump who are just sort of dabbling in politics? Anyway. Right. Yes, exactly. Nikki, is there anything... I'm trying to keep these interviews, like, really short to kind of make it nice and easy on all the team members. Is there anything that you want to add that we didn't get to?
I mean, obviously, go to Kickstarter, back special committee. And just as important, go vote on November 8th.
Sweet. All right, cool. So that's Nicky Besuden. She's the marketing specialist on special committee, and we're just highlighting each team member for about 10 minutes and asking them questions to put their skill set on display. Anyway, thanks for watching. Tune into the next one.